I can't forget my ex-girlfriend. Go on your honeymoon alone. He told me that bluntly. Though our honeymoon was just a day away and plans to officially tie the knot once we returned, he had the audacity to say that to his fiancée. Fine, I'll go by myself then. My fiancé chose his affair over me. I have no lingering feelings for him anymore. I decided I'd never come back here and set off on a solo trip. My name is Sarah Johnson. I'm just an average woman in my 20s, working freelance. Currently, I'm engaged. I've been dating my partner since college, his name being Jason Miller. Given recent circumstances, we decided not to have a wedding ceremony. To be honest, I wasn't really concerned about wearing a wedding dress or having a big ceremony. Jason didn't seem too interested either, so it didn't matter. Both parents had seen each other, and the only thing we did was buy our rings. All that was left was to submit our marriage license on our upcoming anniversary in a few months. We're currently living together in our new home as an engaged couple. Although we aren't legally married yet, we're already wearing our rings and living as if we were a married couple. After living like this for a while, Jason suddenly suggested, "Hey, wanna go on a trip next long weekend?" At the end day of that long weekend was coincidentally the scheduled day to become officially married. We had plans to go to the city hall but hadn't thought much beyond that. You mean? It means our honeymoon. We're not having a ceremony, so we might as well take a trip, right? I was surprised since I hadn't expected Jason to suggest something like this. He usually left holiday plans and marriage procedures up to me. To be honest, I'd given up on him in that regard. We're both busy with work, and Jason isn't really into traveling. I had written off the idea of a honeymoon entirely. That sounds great. I'd love to go, I said excitedly. And just like that, our honeymoon was set in a hurry. After much discussion and considering the sudden nature of our plans, we decided to travel domestically. I'd be happy with anywhere. The mere fact that Jason suggested we take a trip together already made me so happy. You can choose wherever you want to go. But in the end, he left it up to me. At that time, I was just so thrilled I didn't mind at all. Given it was the hot summer season, I decided we'd go to Alaska. I reminded of a while back, Jason mentioned while watching TV, I've never been to Alaska. I'd love to visit. It had been some time, so he probably didn't recall saying that. But, hoping it would make him happy, I started planning our trip in detail. Looking back, that was probably the happiest time. I never imagined the heartache that would come next. A little after I began our travel preparations, Jason had a high school reunion to attend. Jason and I met during our college years. So, I hardly knew any of his high school friends. Since I knew he was going to a party where both men and women would be attending, it wasn't exactly comforting. Yet, Jason cheerfully said, "I'm gonna announce to everyone that we're getting married." He said that with a cheerful bounce in his step and headed out. I didn't want to rain on his parade, so I kept quiet and watched him go. I mean, we're practically newlyweds, his coming back home probably wouldn't be too late. Considering we're about to be officially married, his friends would surely understand he shouldn't be out too long. That's what I kept telling myself to avoid worrying too much. However, the time the reunion was supposed to end came and went, and Jason didn't come home. He said he'd be back after the main event. I called him several times out of concern but couldn't get through. I just hoped he wasn't getting too carried away. Much to my dismay, Jason didn't come home until the next morning. Sorry, we just got so caught up," he said when he woke up around noon. Honestly, I didn't mind him coming home late. But at least he could have given me a message. He always used to let me know before. I found myself getting a bit irritated. There would have been other women at the reunion. Coming home in the morning after such an event doesn't sit right with me. But mentioning every little thing would just make me seem clingy, and I didn't want that. "Hey, think a bit more next time. We're practically newlyweds." I said that and left it there. Probably he got caught up and missed the last train or something. There's nothing for me to worry about. At least, that's what I thought. But since that day, I felt something changed. Jason's behavior seemed off. Is this what they call a woman's intuition? all I noticed were minor things. Nothing concrete. But something felt amiss. He started coming home a bit later than usual. He began taking his cell phone to the restroom or when changing clothes. And he seemed distant even when I tried to strike up a conversation. Just small changes. Minor as they were, something inside me felt a warning. The Jason I knew was somehow different now. Did something happen at the reunion? That's what I started to think. But I didn't have the courage to turn my suspicions into certainty. Snooping through his phone, or confronting him directly. I was afraid to take such actions. If there was an issue, what would I do? We're about to get officially married, and if there's an issue? The thought scared me, and I couldn't muster the courage to move forward. And with those feelings, the day of our trip was gradually approaching. Jason seemed to be lost in his thoughts as usual. There were many days he didn't seem to really listen to what I said. "Hey, are you listening?" Even when I asked that, he'd reply, "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Just been worn out from work." And he wouldn't engage. We hadn't had a proper conversation in days. When he got home, he'd often just go straight to sleep. What kind of married life is this for a couple who's essentially newlyweds? I wished we could spend more time talking and being together. I was filled with unease. Could I truly enjoy our honeymoon with things being this way? Doubts clouded my mind. And then, I crossed a line I shouldn't have. It was the day Jason came home drunk from a company happy hour. He dozed off on the living room couch. From his hand, his cell phone slipped with a thud. I picked it up, intending to put it on the table. At that moment, a notification caught my eye. I hadn't intended to snoop. But by sheer chance, it caught my eye. The sender's name was Jessica. A message from a woman. I couldn't see the entire text in that split second, but I think it said something like, "Did you deceive your wife? Can't wait to see you again." The moment I saw that, I felt the blood drain from my face. See him again? Deceive? Me? A sinking feeling washed over me. The uneasy feeling I'd been vaguely sensing seemed to be materializing before my very eyes. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist. Making sure Jason was fast asleep, I took the phone. I always knew Jason didn't have a lock on his phone. I believed it was because he trusted me and had nothing to hide. Hesitantly, I checked the messages. What I saw was absolutely shocking. Today, Jason had said he was at a company happy hour, but it seemed that was a lie. In reality, he had met with a woman named Jessica. Up until a few moments ago, my fiancé had been alone with another woman. And he lied to me, saying it was a work-related outing. Won't your newlywed wife get suspicious? It's fine. Told her it's a company outing. She's pretty oblivious, she won't catch on. That's awful, being so deceitful to her. It seems they had this conversation earlier in the day. Right around the time he told me he wouldn't need dinner because of the company outing. I had believed him, thinking a work event was a valid reason. Looking back through their conversation, the earliest message was from a month ago. From the day of the high school reunion. I was surprised to see how beautiful you've become. Breaking up was a mistake. If I had stayed with Jason, I'd be the one married to him. That's how their conversation started. It seems this Jessica was Jason's ex-girlfriend. Probably someone he dated in high school. By the time I met him, they had already broken up, so their relationship should have been long over. Maybe they rekindled things after seeing each other at the reunion. We're practically newlyweds and about to have our honeymoon. This kind of betrayal at such a time is unforgivable. Holding back my anger, I calmly took screenshots of their conversation. Just saw you, but I already miss you. I care about Jessica more than my wife. I love you. Why don't you leave your wife and marry me? I can satisfy you better, can't I? While I was taking shots of such delusional exchanges as evidence, tears streamed down my face. Was I the only one who thought we were happy? I thought I was gonna spend my life with him. Was that just a fleeting dream? After capturing all the evidence, I gently placed the phone back beside my husband. One thing's for sure, my mind is made up. I'll just go with the flow. Time flew, and it was finally the night before our trip. I had everything ready for our vacation. I asked Jason, "Have you packed yet?" But Jason just looked down, staying silent. "What's wrong?" After my repeated questioning, he finally spoke up, looking like he'd made up his mind. I can't go on our honeymoon with Sarah." He looked straight at me, and Jason continued speaking. He had an expression that seemed like he had finally let go or become defiant. "I can't forget my ex. I want you to go on the honeymoon alone." He said it right to my face. With our honeymoon set for the next day and plans to get legally married after our return, he boldly declared to his fiancée, "I can't forget my ex. You should go on the honeymoon by yourself." "So you're choosing your ex over me?" I asked, trying to stay calm. Not expecting me to be so composed, Jason firmly said, "Yes. I'm not gonna travel with Sarah. Jessica is the one I care about." He spoke as if intoxicated by his own words. Like he was trying to justify his actions or play the part of a tragic love story's protagonist. Listening to him, my decision became more solid. "All right. I'll go alone then," I responded, getting up and heading towards our bedroom. Before closing the door, "I don't want to see your face. Why don't you go to Jessica's place? Don't come back here till I leave for the trip." I said that. He replied, "Got it. I won't be coming back tonight." He left the house, calling someone. Probably Jessica, that woman he's cheating with. They're probably having a great night from now. That woman must be looking pretty smug right now. If she wants a cheater, I'll let her have. I'm over it. Left alone at home, I started preparing for my trip tomorrow. The next day, I was on a plane, heading solo to Alaska. I had torn up the extra ticket which was written Jason's name when I left the house. He probably won't be coming home tonight. He's at his lover's place after all. I suppose if he does reach out, it'd be after he's home. With those thoughts, I arrived in Alaska. By the time I got there, it was beginning to get dark. Took longer than I thought. Might as well treat myself to a nice seafood dinner, local to Alaska. After a while, my phone rang. Of course, it was Jason. Probably returned from his lover's place. After checking out the situation at home, he called me. I kinda had an idea what this was about, but I might as well pick up. "Hello? Hey! Where the hell are you?" He yelled right off the bat. The volume of his voice caught me off guard, and I instinctively pulled the phone away from my ear. "Loud much?" "I'm in Alaska, where you told me to go, right?" I replied with a sigh. "Why?" "Well, you're the one who did let me go on the honeymoon alone, didn't you?" "That's not the point." Even over the phone, it was clear. Jason was clearly panicking. I could tell from the tone of his voice. "What the hell were you thinking? Why is the house empty?" Before I left for Alaska, I had tidied up my personal affairs. Modern moving companies are pretty darn efficient. Maybe it's tailored to folks who need to get out in a jiffy. Apparently, they can handle same-day moves. Well, I'd been researching this for a while and had already chosen a company. "You mean I moved? Isn't it obvious? Why'd you take all the furniture? We were living there together, this doesn't make any sense." "We lived there together, but all the furniture was mine." "What are you talking about?" "Most of the things in that house were purchased when I was living on my own. There were some newer items, but I paid for all of them. Jason always said he'd pay me back later, but never did. So, without a doubt, that furniture is mine. He has no say in what I do with it." "And what's this about moving? Why all of a sudden?" Did he think, after his affair, that I would stay in that house for any longer? If so, that's some naive thinking on his part. "I'll have to buy my own furniture." "Why would you?" I thought I might give Jason a little more shock. I grinned. "Oh, and about the house lease, it's up at the end of the month. You'll need to move out by then, okay?" With that, I dropped the bombshell. It's almost the end of the month now. Only a few days left till the contract ends. "What? You canceled the lease without telling me? What the hell?" Well, the lease was in my name. When we were settling the house lease, Jason pushed all the hassle onto me. It's a pain with the names and all. Just put it in Sarah's name. You handle everything. That's what he told me, so I signed the lease under my name. At first, we split the rent, but lately, he hasn't been contributing much, leaving me to cover it all. Yeah, but where the hell am I gonna live starting next month? I don't know. Why don't you go back to your parents' house? Come on! I can't just go back, you know that. Jason's parents are incredibly strict folks. They're the kind of people who'd never tolerate cheating. They wouldn't even acknowledge us living together until we had an official engagement. What would happen if those strict parents found out about the affair and he got kicked out of the house? I can easily imagine how that would play out. You know, if my folks find out, I'm toast. Just come back home for now. Having an affair and expecting such a sweet deal is pretty audacious. Does he think I'll just forgive and come back? There's no way I'm coming back. You chose your affair over your fiancé, me. Sooner or later, your folks are gonna find out. That's not true. Jason quickly denies it. What exactly isn't true? I did say I wasn't going on a trip with Sarah, but I never said I wasn't gonna marry you. I still plan on marrying Sarah. I can't have you disappearing on me. He's spouting some outrageous nonsense. He openly cheats, yet expects to go ahead with our marriage plans. There's no way that's happening. Once you cheat, marriage is off the table. Remember when you said you couldn't forget your ex, how she meant a lot to you? I did say that. But that's one thing, and this is another. I can't forget Jessica, she's important to me. But I'm gonna marry Sarah. His logic is all over the place. Seems like he wants me to accept his affair and still go ahead with the marriage. It seems he's less fixated on me and more worried about his parents finding out if I call off the wedding. Such a disrespectful attitude really gets under my skin. Too bad, there's no way I'd agree to that. I told him firmly. There's no point in enduring such a hellish marriage. Such an injustice shouldn't be tolerated. And by the way, if you're so worried about your parents finding out, it's too late. What? I've already sent them all the evidence. They know everything now. What the heck? Right as I got off the plane, I sent all the evidence to Jason's parents digitally. They'll also receive a physical copy in the mail soon. What? What the hell did you do? The only one who did something out of line was you, wasn't it? You chose your mistress over our honeymoon. I have no intentions of marrying someone like that. I said that and hung up the phone. Jason kept trying to contact me persistently, but I ignored every single one. I informed his parents about breaking off the engagement and asked them not to contact me, then blocked their numbers. Looking back, I'm glad we hadn't planned a wedding yet. Thinking about cancellation fees and all gives me the chills. Thankfully, we hadn't officially registered the marriage yet, so there's no paperwork or anything to deal with. I guess I should just be grateful that this all came out before the paperwork was finalized. If Jason would have truly changed his ways once we were married. I had hoped for a moment. But it was clear that his heart had completely drifted away, and getting back together would probably be impossible. So, I decided to settle everything and break away from Jason. Luckily, my job allows me to work from anywhere since I'm a freelancer. It's a huge perk being able to be on the move so easily. Once this solo trip to Alaska is over, I'm planning to head back to my parents' place. I do intend to live alone again once I've settled down. Finding a new place in just these few days would have been impossible. For now, I'm just gonna enjoy Alaska and forget everything. Turns out, Jason got a serious earful from his parents later on. His parents seemed to have really liked me, and they probably couldn't forgive him for betraying and cheating on me. He apparently tried to introduce Jessica to them as his new girlfriend, but they turned her away right at the door. They surely wouldn't accept her. To make matters worse, they even found out that he was trying to rush our marriage just so they wouldn't get mad at him. Telling them that Jessica was his new fiancée in such a vague situation probably only made his parents angrier. From what I've heard, Jason's parents have disowned him and he's basically been cast out. Losing his home and his family, it's quite the mess he's in. Well, considering we weren't married yet, I hope he'd be grateful that I didn't ask for a refund of the house lease or anything like that. After all, had I felt like it, I could have made such demands. But I knew even without doing that, his life would become pretty tough. Jason, to be honest, doesn't make that great of a salary. It's probably a bit below average for his age group. Compared to mine, it's about half. Of course, I never told Jason that because I didn't want to hurt his pride. That's why, even if Jason didn't pay the rent or chip in for living expenses, we managed. That was all thanks to my earnings. But what about Jason now? Suddenly kicked out without any furniture or appliances. Now he's gonna start living on his own, renting a place, and buying all the household appliances. After doing all that, I wonder how much money he'll have left. Seems like he's actually struggling to get by month to month. He probably rented a place close to his work, somewhere similar to before. That area has high rent. Buying all the appliances will cost a lot, and if he continues to eat out, he'll run out of money in no time. Moreover, he can't rely on my income anymore, so his earnings are less than half. His bank balance will hit rock bottom in no time. The reason he could afford dates and hotel stays was because of me. He probably realizes that now. And can a broke guy like him keep an affair going on for long? As expected, Jessica, his affair partner, quickly dumped Jason. She seems to be getting along with a new guy now. So, he lost his fiancée, his family home, his place, and even his affair partner. Even if Jason regrets everything now, there's no turning back. Even without me asking for the repayment, he's bound to lead a difficult life. He's been disowned, so he can't rely on his family. He's truly in a tight spot. As for me, I'm living comfortably at my parents' place. Going about my usual work routine, while looking for a new home and thinking about my new life. When they heard about the broken engagement, my parents were initially shocked. But after hearing the details, they came around and understood. They probably thought it was a good thing that we hadn't legally tied the knot yet. Even mutual friends were very surprised. Well, for me, it's already become something I can laugh about, so I have no intention of hiding it. Probably, rumors will spread, and Jason's social circle will shrink. I expect he'll become estranged from the friends he made during college too. After a solo trip to a place like Alaska, I've become hooked on traveling alone. Now I'm planning to maybe head somewhere down south next. Although I've gone through the uncommon experience of breaking off an engagement, I can't mope around forever. Life's too short after all. I gotta make the most out of it and enjoy it to the fullest. With that in mind, I'm living every day to the fullest, both at work and in my personal life.